So, Kakadosh, we're going to start the halachot of Pesach. There's obviously a lot of halachot. Um, I'll give you a rundown. What we'll try to do is we'll try to do a little bit of everything, so that way we don't do only one thing at one time, because if not, then afterwards it becomes a little bit more difficult. There's obviously the halachot of the cleaning, preparing our houses for Pesach, whether it's going to be even before the Bedikat Chametz, how do we clean for Pesach, what is required, what's not required. Where we're going to speak about halachot of koshering, which means if we want to kosher, whether it's going to be all the different items, countertops, ovens, microwaves, platas, urns, like all the different things that we have for Pesach. And then what we also have is the actual night of the Seder in itself, which means whether it's going to be measurements, how to do a proper Seder. Now, the reason why is it's very, very important, because this we try to teach also to men and also to women, because there's a lot of halachot. And without realizing it, we don't pay attention and we don't actually fulfill the mitzvot. Now, why do I say it's very, very important? Because we don't even realize, right, that women are obligated in all the mitzvot of the day, right, just like men. So it's happened before that I remember that somebody once told me, Rabbi, you don't understand, right? There's a woman talking and she tells me we were cleaning up, getting everything, ready. Comes the night of the Seder, and they're in the middle of the Seder, and I'm closing my eyes like that, and I'm just falling asleep. And she's just exhausted. So I told her she missed the point of Pesach. Meaning she missed the point of Pesach. That's not Pesach. If Pesach is going to be that she's going to be completely exhausted and she's not going to fulfill the mitzvot of Pesach, so therefore she didn't do Pesach. She has to start again, right? But not the cleaning part, right? She has to start again. So there's a misconception, okay? And this is brought down in almost all of the different pre-Pesach cleanings, whether it's the London Beit Din or other places as well, where they all said that you're not supposed to panic. What does that mean, don't panic? Means that Pesach shouldn't be a spring cleaning. 100% that we're supposed to make sure that we don't have chametz, yes. But don't think that now there's an obligation, mitzad, halachot of Pesach, to come and to start spring cleaning the house. Because that's not the obligation. The obligation is not spring cleaning. The obligation is to make sure that you don't have chametz. Some people, they come and they tell me, but we come and we take out. So for example, I'll give you a very simple example, right? The books here, blinded. Imagine we had the obligation to come and to take out all the books. So the Chazon Ish actually said, you have to take every single book. Rav Ovadia Yosef, but this is also not only Rav Ovadia, this is after Rav Ovadia, every single kashrut agency and everything afterwards, they come and they say, unless you're going to take your Britannica or you're going to take your book and you're going to take it out and start reading it at your table on Pesach, there's no obligation to do that. Why? When was the last time you come and you open up a book and you find a loaf of bread, right? Or a slice of bread or anything, right? The maximum, it would be a crumb, and nobody's going to come and take that crumb and start eating that crumb, right? So therefore, right, we're not obligated to do such a thing. And therefore, again, when we're talking about pre-Pesach cleaning, right, in the olden days, it was very difficult, right? Everything, even the tables, was made out of wood, and there was always the cracks and crevices, even the floor in itself. But nowadays, you're not going to come and go on the floor, and in between the tiles, you're going to find chametz, and you're going to eat it on Pesach. Or you're not going to come and take the table, and in between, it's all one solid wood table or whatever it is, and you don't have the same problems whatsoever. And therefore, what we always have to remember is that anything that we're doing to do with our Judaism, with our religion, is supposed to be besimcha. And if it's going to be that it looks upon to you that it's going to be a burden or an ol or a yoke, so therefore it's wrong. That shouldn't be the way that it is. It's good to do it in a way of besimcha, that we are happy, that we want to make sure that we have all the chametz to get rid of it, 100%, and that's our mitzvah. However, though, not to make feel that, look, again, it's Pesach cleaning, right? And it's going to take me a month and a half to come and to start preparing to cleaning for Pesach, and I only have 2.5 weeks, and therefore I'm already late. It doesn't work, okay? We will, though, speak about with children, because especially with children, there's going to be more obligations of where to search, because if there's no children around, so it's going to be much less. But, right, that's just the introduction of the halachot, okay? Fine. So we're going to start. The whenever we're going to speak about where to look for chametz, right, or things like that, so we should remember whether we're going to check, okay, for example, benching cards, right, birkonim. So to do the birkonim, we would advise usually just close it off. Why? Because if you're not going to close it off, so then you have much more problems. You should have kashela pesach birkonim, right, and books, because that for sure was always on the table. It's always with bread, right? However, though, again, even if you do need to use them, so again, all you have to do is you open it up, you air it out, and that's it, and there's no problem, because at the end of the day, again, we're not talking about that you're going to be finding something and you're going to be eating it. So you have whether it's going to be this birkonim, we're talking about whether it's going to be briefcases or the knapsacks, the school bags of the children. Many times it could happen that all of a sudden they have to come and they have to take from school, they made something for Pesach. So they open up their school bag and they didn't check it beforehand. And again, you have, right, all of a sudden a whole bunch of goodies and snacks that you sent with your children. So you've got that, right, in the cabinets, in your car. A lot of people even forget to do bedikat chametz on their car. You're obligated to do bedikat chametz in your car. Just like you have to clean your car, you have to do bedikat chametz, a search of chametz, meaning the night of chametz, right? Just like on the night of bedikat chametz, you come and you go around the entire house and you search, right? So a person is obligated to search all their properties where they had chametz. So that includes whether it's going to be in, yes, no, with a flashlight, lechatchila, obviously. Only use a flashlight. Don't use a candle in your car. I do not advise it. I don't know if the insurance will cover afterwards, right? You only use flashlights and anywhere where it's dangerous. Remember that, right? So, for example, you're talking about you're going to do bedikat chametz. You're obligated to do bedikat chametz on the night before Pesach. Okay, we'll speak about blina there another time when if it's somebody's traveling or not, but usually the night before Pesach, what you're supposed to do is at nightfall, you're going to do bedikat chametz. And when you do bedikat chametz, you're going to do bedikat chametz, whether it's going to be in your house, in your offices, in your stores, in your cars, on your boats, on your planes, anywhere else, whatever you might have, you're going to do it everywhere where you have that it's your property. So you're going to come and you're going to do bedikat chametz. Okay, now obviously, usually the women won't do it, usually the men will do it. However, though, if the man's not going to do it, you're obligated to do it, or he could actually even appoint you as a shaliach, as a messenger in order to do it. But if not, the concept is that you make the beracha, they go around, they start looking around for the chametz, right? We have a minhag of placing 10 pieces of bread. The reason for the minhag is in order that it shouldn't be, right, a beracha levatala, that it shouldn't be a beracha in vain that you found something. Because if, I don't believe that anytime, a person will actually find chametz. Usually if the women are cleaning already from 3 weeks in advance, I don't think they'll find anything, right? But what happens though is that they're going to put 10 pieces of bread, make sure that those 10 pieces of bread, each piece of bread is going to be less than a kazait, less than 28 grams, just in case it is that if it's going to get lost, right, you don't have a problem. And write down where you're hiding it. Right? I know that's the fun and part of the hide and seek, right? So usually they'll come and they'll start hiding it, or the children will do it, and make sure that you write it down, because you don't know how many times they call up the rabbi and they tell him, Rabbi, we can't find the 10 pieces, right? And then what are we going to do exactly? So, okay, fine. So you just have to make sure that you're going to write down all the different places, you hide them in all the different parts of the house, and you secure it that it's not going to make more crumbs. It does not make sense that you're cleaning the entire time and then you come and you put the pieces of bread and it's going to get everything all full of chametz. So the best thing to do is to actually use kitchen paper, right? The reason why it's better to use kitchen paper is because afterwards the men come, and remember that we're very busy on Erev Pesach and we're not really thinking, right, about all the details. We come, and many women, they'll come and they'll put it in niyar kesef, in aluminum foil. And what happens is they come, they take the aluminum foil and they throw it inside of the fire. And as usual, the fire was not actually going to burn it. And you have a mitzvah to destroy the chametz. So if you're throwing the foil into the fire, you're not burning anything, right? It's inside of the foil. So therefore, what you're supposed to do is, the best way to do it is that you take small pieces of bread, you roll it in the kitchen paper, and then you instead of paper towel. Which one? Yeah, you could also use regular paper. You could use regular paper. You could use anything which is going to burn afterwards. Yes, because in silver foil, it's not going to burn. So therefore, what you do is you put it in that, and then afterwards you come and you put a tape or something to close it off. Make sure that it's all surrounded. You hide them. When you find them, you put them in a bag, in a Ziploc. And when you're done with the Ziploc, you're going to come and you're going to burn it right on the day of Erev Pesach. But now remember, when you're burning it, you don't have to start taking it out of silver foil, right? So therefore, you're going to throw it into the fire and it's going to get burnt, and that's how you're going to fulfill your mitzvah. Because remember, the putting the breads is a minhag. The burning of the chametz at a Pesach is halacha, right? That's our mitzvah. It's a mitzvah from the Torah, Rabbi Yur chametz. So therefore, just pay attention. That's very, very important that we do that, okay? Now, when we're going to be checking, right, for chametz, so we already started speaking about whether it's going to be briefcases, right, cabinets. So in the car, we said check your glove compartment, whether it's the trunk, the seats, right? Now, again, obviously, if there's children and they're eating all the time in the car, so therefore, again, you should try to clean the car. We usually go above and beyond. But again, mitzad halacha, you do not have to come and start putting, right, taking out completely seats. Unless you're going to suspect that you're going to find a full cookie there or I don't know what. So then usually, right, just like if you cannot get your hand there, you're not going to do it on Pesach. Meaning that somebody once told me, listen, Rabbi, I took the entire fridge and then we needed 3 people to come and to move out the entire fridge to get it. Now, again, if you're going to do that on Pesach, so then maybe you should start suspecting doing that also before Pesach. But if you're not going to move the fridge on Pesach and you don't think that there's going to be, right, a kazait or any, 28 grams of bread or any type of a cookie behind the fridge, so you're not obligated to come and to move these huge fridges out of it. If it's a small fridge, something small, and they want to start moving it, fine. But again, you're not obligated to do things which you're not going to do on Pesach as well. Okay? Until here we're clear? Fine.
We see the crumbs in the car, but we can't really reach it easily. We disregard it.
Yes, you could do bitul and that's it. Now, again, if it's easily to be reached, then you have to take care of it. Because again, I remember once somebody called me up, they said, Rabbi, I see in between the oven, and I think it was like the wall, all the way in a corner, that there's a little bit of crumbs. So they went and they said, so you know what? I want to sell it to the goy. I told him, the goy does not want to buy your crumbs, right? The goy is not going to buy your crumbs. The goy is going to buy your chametz. The only thing you do for that is called bitul chametz. Bitul is you annul it. You annul it just in case, right, that you don't want it. Now, why do you still have to do the bidika then? If I do bitul, I annul the chametz. Why do you have to do bidika? Why do I even have to check anything? The reason is because if you don't do bidika, maybe I'm going to find a nice piece of, chametz, and I'm going to say, chaval, you know what, let me just put it in a chametz place or whatever, and I want to actually eat it. That's a problem. So you still have to do bidikat chametz, and you do bitul chametz. Bidikat chametz is the searching for the chametz. The bitul is the annulation, that you're annulling that you don't have any chametz. So that you do both. We do the bidikat chametz at nighttime, and we annul after the search. But the annul after the search is only the chametz, right, that we do not see. Why? Because I'm not going to annul the chametz that I do see, because that I'm burning tomorrow morning. If I just annulled it, I can't burn it. So therefore, then in the morning, we're going to do the annul, right, the annulation of all the chametz that we have, whether it's the chametz that we do see and the chametz that we don't see. Okay? Fine. We're talking about cosmetic boxes or cookbooks. So obviously, a cookbook would be a problem, because a cookbook, again, you're in the kitchen, you have all the different things. But again, if you're not going to have it mamash right by, or if you want to use the cookbooks, yes, air it out before Pesach, meaning you come, open it up, make sure that there's no crumbs, whatever it is, and that's it. And then if you are going to use it on Pesach, don't use it beside the food, right? Because if you're going to use it, even if it was direct comment, it does not be, you have to remember one thing. A book cannot become chametz. I could come and I could put my bread on it. It does not become chametz. What is the suspicion? Suspicion is that I've got maybe a little bit of crumbs and I might come. So 1 second. So 2 things. First of all, before Pesach, I could come, I do this. I make sure that there's no crumbs in between. And that's it. Now, even on Pesach itself, if I'm going to come to use it, so you're right. Don't put it right beside the food. Move it on the side, put it over here, check whatever it is that you need to check. And then after that you checked and you did whatever you need, you're using it, there's no problem. But again, you're not going to open it up and also going to find a cookie inside of a book. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. But again, this is all things that might have, like what we said, benches, birkonim, that they're on the Shabbat table and there's bread all around. Now, if you have the minhag that you also always cover the bread and you're putting it on the side, so it's even less possible that you're going to find there. So again, lechatchila, the best is to have your own, birkonim for Pesach. But technically speaking, mitzad halacha, you don't need towels. right? You have your chametz towels. There's no obligation to have matzah towels. Right? Towels do not become chametz. You put them in the washing machine, it's better than hagala. Right? No, even if it doesn't get to that thing, but you put it in the washing machine, it gets washed. You don't need it. Again, you technically speaking, remember, how did it become chametz? What did it become chametz? How? Right? You went and you put a hot bread on top of the towel. What? Which one? You could use it also for the Pesach kitchen. One more time. A towel, how did the towel become chametz? How did the towel become chametz? Yeah.
But that you use again after Pesach, but the same towel, the same tablecloth. No.
So again, one more time. The towels, you've got kitchen towels, right? And you're using towels. It is not real chametz. How did it become chametz? Right? If it touches flour, is not chametz. Matzah is made out of flour. Dough, right? Even dough only after 18 minutes has become chametz. Right? Only if it touches challah. Touches the challah, it's cold. Only if it would have to be hot. You put it in the washing machine, again, it's not chametz. It doesn't, there's no real chametz. Again, our minhag is to come and to have everything new, 100%. But really, be'emet, if a person calls me up, Rabbi, I need right now to use, I don't have kitchen towels. What's the big deal? Put them in the washing machine, take it out. Your tablecloth, put it in the washing machine, take it out. Now what? Now there's going to be chametz? 100%. It's not chametz. How is it chametz? You put a boiling hot bread on top of it. Like, how did it become chametz? Right? So the oven mitts are much worse because the oven mitts come into contact with hot and boiling hot. We're not talking about the bread. By the time the bread comes to your table, right? You have to remember that the bread, when it's going to be on your table, it's already cold. Again, warm, it could be warm. But if you're going to touch it, you're going to get burnt. You're going to go like this, right? No. So therefore, for it to become chametz, it's very, very difficult. Now, again, there's a minhag. So minhag was, you have separate tablecloths and separate, separate of, how do you call this? Towels and everything. But mitzad halacha, right? We go after rov tashmisho. Rov tashmisho means the majority of usage. The majority of usage. Use rov, the majority, tashmisho. Meaning, I'm going to say, how is it used? The majority of tablecloths is using cold. Even if it did happen that a bread came and it touched it, even if it's hot, it has to be yatzoledable, which means you're going to touch it, you're going to retract, right? That your hand has to retract from it. How many times does it happen that you have boiling hot bread that went on the table directly? Again, if it's on a plate, it's not chametz. It's directly on the tablecloth to come and that you're going to get burnt. How many times? It usually doesn't happen. Which one?
That is the case, then it's chametz. Like if I put boiling
even if it would say that it's going to become chametz, again, you put it in the washing machine. It's on a hot wash and everything. That's it.
Brought all my food until last year. I could keep the spices.
We're going to speak about the food in a few minutes. One second. That's about selling real chametz. We'll speak about that in a few minutes. Okay. So therefore, what we're talking about though is the tablecloths in itself, technically speaking. Now again, the best, if you're talking about best, yes, have separate tablecloths, have everything that you want. But mitzad halacha, we're talking about halacha. Halacha, the tablecloth is not chametz. The towels are not chametz. The mittens, that yes, because the mittens are going directly in the oven, that comes into hot contact with chametz, that yes. But other than the mittens or the hot gloves, the gloves that you put in the oven and all those things, that no. But if it's going to be anything else, you don't have that problem, okay? Technically, yes. And if you're going to put in a hot wash and everything, so technically, again, you also have the same thing. Again, the same halacha of how is it going to come and it's going to become kosher, okay? Right. It could be the trays. Yes, 100%. If you're going to use towels instead of mittens, so then maybe, yeah, in those cases, it could be. Okay, now, when we're talking about the cookbooks, we spoke about that. Cribs are underneath the beds, cupboards, desks, drawers. Okay, fish tanks, garages, garbage cans, high chairs, infant car seats, all these things, obviously, especially that whenever, again, we're talking about things with the children, you have to be very, very careful. We spoke about the school bags, the knapsacks, lockers, luggages, the lockers. Make sure that when your children are coming home from school, you tell them that they have to do b'dikat chametz without a beracha, right, on their lockers. Meaning some of them, they're going to come and they're going to forget or they're not going to do anything. You tell them before you're leaving school, make sure you check your locker that you don't have chametz, because if not, they might not even realize they have snacks there, they had something there, and then it's chametz shavat of Pesach. Then they come back after Pesach, they don't know the halachot, and they're going to start eating it. So you have to make sure that you just tell them before you come home. Make sure that you check your lockers, your cubbies, whatever they call them, each thing, their desks, whatever, just to make sure that they're not going to have chametz. Luggages, again, if you would, right, fine. When we're talking about medicine, right, so medicine also you would check. The reason why is because certain medicines are chametz because they do have emilan. Emilan is a wheat derivative, right, that comes from wheat. And many times what they do is that they're either used as a filler or a binder, right? What does that mean? When you take a pill, right, the medicine in the pill is much smaller than the actual pill in itself. But many times what they do is they use other types of emilan, for example, which comes from wheat, as a filler. What does a filler mean? It fills up the rest of the pill. So it means the amount of the medicine is very, very small, but then they come and they have that the rest of the pill is a problem. That's called a filler. Sometimes it's used as a binder. As a binder, just to understand, for example, when you make meatballs or los boles or whatever you want exactly. So what happens is many times you use kemach, you use wheat, or you use breadcrumbs or all these other things, and it binds the meat together. So that's called a binder. It comes and it puts it together. So many times you'll also use chametz as a binder. That's why all types of medicines you have to check if they're kasher lePesach. So every single year they come out with Blumenkranz or the Star K. I think they also have one, but the Blumenkranz or the Star K, they have an entire list of what exactly is kasher lePesach, what's not kasher lePesach. So if you already know from now that you're taking certain medicines, or you will need certain medicines, or certain pills, vitamins, whatever it is, always make sure to get hand information beforehand. Don't call up the rabbi during Chol HaMoed to find out if you were allowed to take it on Yom Tov or not, or don't call him up on Erev Pesach, right? But rather, you already know 2 weeks in advance. You start calling up and you say, okay, Rabbi, I've got this list. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually it's very easy to find out. You could check the list. If not, then you would have to find out. Many times I also have to ask a pharmacist because they know exactly what's in it, what's not in it. And many times they'll be able to tell you what there is a problem, not a problem. Sometimes even vitamin C could be a problem, right? Many things like that. So you just make sure. There are kosher vitamins which are kasher lePesach. You could actually, there's things koshervitamins.com and other places as well that you could actually look them up and find out. But if not, if I remember correctly, I think there's in the Star K, we send it out a quick guide just of, different medicines, different things that we send out what is kosher and what is not kosher, just to understand. So, for example, we'll send out, I think it's called a quick medicine list that we'll send out that, for example, which types of, Advil or Tylenols for children or certain things like that they'll tell you exactly what is 100% kasher lePesach, just to make sure that you don't have a problem on Pesach, right, with these items. And that's why medicine boxes, unless you're going to lock up the entire thing, right? So, but if not, make sure, because again, you're going to have chametz there. So just be careful about the medicine, okay?
Right, is it correct that all the medicine that is just white, like the white without coating or anything, there's no problem with those?
Not always. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there is also. Yeah, that's what you have to check. You have to check, right? That's on everything. We always check because you don't. Sometimes it could be like a very simple product, and we don't even realize that it's got problems there. Okay. There's another word I forgot what those are used many times. They're in medicines. And sometimes it could come from chametz, and sometimes it could, I don't remember the word.
So there's no the thing that it's not being able to be eaten by a dog. It's not.
So that's a whole question. The question is, even if it's not going to be eaten by a dog, you eat it, and hopefully we're human beings. So there's a concept from Rav Asher Weiss that he says that it's achsheve. Achsheve means that even though maybe the dog wouldn't have eaten it in that form, the fact that I made it important and now I want to eat it myself, so you can't say that it's not good, right? I want to eat the pill, right? Everyone wants to eat the pill. And the majority of pills nowadays, actually, they don't even taste bad anymore, right? So it's got no taste at all, or it's just plastic or whatever. So even with it, at the end of the day, so then that's the whole question, right? But again, obviously, we try to make sure that they're going to be kosher beforehand.
You ready to discuss it?
No, not yet. Give me a few minutes and we'll talk about selling the chametz, right? And the real chametz, it's all together, right? So 1 second. So this is talking about still the searching of the chametz. So when we're talking about the searching of the chametz, purses, handbags, right? Many times we know that women don't have 1 or 2, they have 20 or 30, depends on every single clothing. So what happens is that they have to check every single bag. Why? Because many times they have their, right, whether it's going to be pills, whether it's going to be anything else, and we have to check for chametz. So, right, we already brought down school bags, desks, handbags, pockets of the clothing. So again, there is, just like there's a mitzvah on Erev Shabbat to check our pockets to make sure that we don't have, we don't have muktzeh in our pockets. So too, right, there's the same concept to do with chametz. Many times we have candies, right? We tell the men, they don't know how many times that they have in their talib bags and they don't even realize they've got candies or they've got inside the cubbies and they have it in all the different places. So the same thing, many times, you went to a bar mitzvah, you went somewhere and you don't realize and you have candies all over the place. And sometimes they're real chametz, right? Like, for example, licorice or other things like that. It's got real chametz. They don't realize it's made out of wheat. And people think, what? But it's a candy, it's shakol. Yeah, it's shakol for a different reason, but it's not, but it could have real chametz. So you have to be very, very careful in what you're doing. Okay, so fine. The playpen, obviously the playpen, high chair, crib, anything to do with babies, you have to be very, very careful because obviously that's where you get the most chametz as possible. Okay, pets, you have to be careful. We send out every single year a list for pets because some people they don't realize the pets, you're not allowed to own chametz as well. So how do you do it if they eat? So there's food, which again, what they're supposed to do, not supposed to do. I remember somebody, they had, I don't remember if it was rabbits, I don't remember what it was exactly, and they had certain chametz food. There was a whole thing of how to do it. So again, just pay attention. If you have pets, make sure that you're going to pay attention before Pesach. What are you supposed to give them, not give them? There's a list of Kasher Pesach of what they're supposed to have and not supposed to have. And again, just pay attention for the pets as well. So baby formula we're going to speak about as well. Usually the baby formula will not have real chametz, even though sometimes they do. But again, there's going to be a list. So there's going to be infant. No. So the only thing that you could use for a baby is that even for Ashkenazim, they could have kitniot, right? Because for Ashkenazim, they don't eat any type of kitniot whatsoever. But for babies, infants, or for elderly, they do eat kitniot. That's why in egg matzah and all these other things, it's going to be written, Kasher Pesach for Sfaradim or for the Ashkenazim, if they're elderly or children. So that for sure, but real chametz, unless it's going to be that they have a sakana or something, whatever, you're not just going to come and stum and give baby chametz, right? Because again, you're not allowed to even own it. So therefore, if you're not allowed to own it, so how do you give them something which is chametz? So again, obviously there's going to be a list. In the list, we're going to see there's going to be different supplements for children. What are they allowed to have? What are they not allowed to have? And there's going to be lists, right? And we usually give out the lists also, which are kitniot, so that way they know what are they allowed to have and what are they not allowed to have, even because Ashkenazim will probably not have it. So they'll put it out in the list also as well. Okay. The koshering of any of the utensils has to be done right before the end time of when we're allowed to eat the chametz. So that's going to be on Wednesday, April 1st, right? On 10:56 a.m. So we have to kosher. If it is that you want to kosher something, make sure that you kosher it beforehand. You don't know how many times people don't think about it and they go to a hotel or they go to a Airbnb. And when they go to an Airbnb, they come and they get it during Chol HaMoed. And now they start calling, Rabbi, we want to kosher things. Now you tell them it's a problem because if you want to kosher, depends what type of kosher you're allowed to do it or not. Because at the end of the day, it's already the time after when there's already chametz. So you have a problem. So again, there's, just have that in mind beforehand, right? Before you're doing anything like that, because usually you could only do libun, you cannot do hagala, right? You could only actually burn things. You can't just come and start koshering things. So you have to be very, very careful. On Pesach, unless it's going to be the how do you call this, libun, which is burning, so then you have a problem because hagala, what hagala does is that you take out what's the difference between hagala and libun? Hagala is anything that's used in a liquid, right? The way that you cook, the way that you became non-kosher is the way that you kosher it. So anything which is cooked in a liquid, like a pot, so therefore you get out of it with a liquid, with water. That's hagala. Anything which is solid, which is a solid state, you have to do libun, which is a fire. The same way that it became not kosher or it became chametz, the same way you have to kosher it. So you cannot come and take hagala or do irui on an oven. An oven is dry heat. So therefore you need, that's why a barbecue is so difficult to kosher, because a barbecue is 100%, there's no liquids. So how do you kosher it? You have to burn it the same way. Now that's very, very difficult. So what happens is that the difference between hagala and libun is, hagala is that when I come and I put, let's say, something inside of here, and there's hot water and it's bubbling, it takes the isur out, but the isur is here. That's why after doing hagala, immediately afterwards, what do? You put it in cold water. Why do you put it in cold water? Because that way, if not, that the yisur, which is on top, might get absorbed inside. When you take a blowtorch or a fire and you burn it, you burn the yisur where it is. It's not taking it out. You're burning the yisur. So therefore, there's nothing there anymore. So therefore, there's going to be a difference between Hagala and Libun, right, to do with Chol HaMoed. But again, obviously, that's what we're saying, that whenever you're going to kosher anything, make sure you kosher everything before 10:56 a.m., right, if you wanted to do Hagala and all these things. Because again, this is when you're supposed to be doing it. Now, again, but the avad in all those situations, we have to see exactly what to do it. Obviously, it's better Libun than Hagala. And again, we're going to, there's an entire thing about koshering. So wait 1 second, we'll get to that.
That we cannot just.
We'll speak about it. There's a lot of what to speak about barbecue. But 1 second. No, it's very, very difficult. It does exist, but it's very difficult. It's not that easy just to come into kosher barbecue. We do have to replace all the vacuum cleaner bags and brooms, right? So again, why? Because maybe inside of the vacuum cleaner bag or whatever, there was real chametz. Again, there's not a big suspicion that you might come and you might eat from there, but we come and we make sure that we're going to empty out all those things as well. You got a new broom, right? Okay, fine. To do with we'll speak about, okay, you know what? We'll speak about the koshering first. Okay, fine. Usually nowadays, right, we try to have everything new, and that's the easiest way out of everything. So you have new, whether it's going to be dishes, cutlery, right, or anything else, right? People have their entire kitchen, everything that they can. But obviously, you're not obligated mitzvah halacha if you cannot have, right, an entire Pesach kitchen, or you cannot have it. So you're allowed to clean it, right? And you're allowed to purify, whether it's going to be all the different utensils. So now again, as we already mentioned, we have to do it before the time of the eating of the chametz. And now we're going to mention 3 different types of koshering. Okay, meaning when I want to kosher something, there's 3 different ways. How do I kosher it? Okay, one of them is going to be hagala, which is the water, which we're going to explain in a second. Number 2 is irui kli rishon, which is pouring boiling hot water onto something. And number 3 is going to be libun, which is usually, right, the second one is irui kli rishon. Irui kli rishon means I'm pouring hot water, boiling hot water onto a substance. And the third one is going to be libun. So we're going to explain it just that way you understand a little bit about each one. So we already gave the introduction. Okay, anything, this is actually learned from Kle Midian. Kle Midian means in the Torah, when they conquered Midian, they took the utensils of the Goyim. So when they took the utensils of the Goyim, they had to purify them before using them. So how do you purify them? So the halacha states as follows, and this is brought down in the Torah, and it says like this, okay? Anything which comes b'mayim, right? Anything which comes in water. So you have a liquid, right? The terminology that the halacha uses is kebul'o kach pulto. The way that it absorbs, so too is the way that you get it out. Meaning the way in is the same way out. Okay, that's the very simple explanation of it. So if it came into the utensil, right, with a liquid, so you get it out through a liquid. So for example, I've got a pot, and I put in the pot pasta, and I put water, hot boiling water, and obviously the hot boiling water is coming, and so I made the pot, chametz, fine. So now how am I going to kosher this pot? So I'm going to take hot boiling water, and I'm going to kosher this pot, because I have to take the water to get out of this pot. Now, how do I do that exactly? So the halacha states as follows. Let's talk about the utensils, which is the easiest. Forks, knives, right? Any types of utensils, right? Cutlery. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I've got cutlery, and I want to use them for Pesach. So there's no problem. What I do is I'm going to wait 24 hours that I didn't use the cutlery. Okay, by not using the cutlery for 24 hours or anything that I'm koshering other than fire, because remember, by fire, it doesn't matter about the 24 hours because I completely burn the chametz. But to do with any other type of koshering, I usually wait 24 hours. 24 hours means that I did not use the product for 24 hours in heat, in hot. Cold was fine. No, you don't have to wait. I could do self-clean, again, self-clean. Right now, I just used the oven. I took out a pizza. I took out whatever you want. Right now, put on self-clean. Self-clean is 100% libun chamur, burns completely everything inside. I don't need to wait the 24 hours. Right? The 24 hours is for everything which is to do with hagala, not to do with libun. A real fire, right? I don't need to wait the 24 hours, okay?
Like, to the back, you just.
What's the becher?
Becher, Kiddush cup.
No, the Kiddush cup, technically, you don't have to kosher it at all. There's a minhag of Ashkenazim that they come, because at the end of the day, how does it become chametz?
Okay, so it's by the table of.
So one second. So I've got right now a Kiddush cup, right? I've got a Kiddush cup on my, right now on my thing.
Okay.
I'm doing Kiddush. How does it become chametz?
If you eat it every Shabbos with challah, what are you talking about?
So the challah is boiling hot, that it comes, meaning you're going to burn your hands,
Okay, put it on
and
the-
you're going to attach it to
So you could just use it for basic.
for Sfaradim, all you have to do is wash it out. Ashkenazim have a minhag that they'll do a gala or they'll do other things, but technically speaking, mitzad halacha,
If you do.
How does it
it
become
outside,
chametz?
you have to do- Wow, that's a mess.
if you're going to do a gala, you always wait 24 hours. Yes, Hagala, you always wait 24 hours, right? There are certain scenarios that you don't have to wait 24
Even
hours,
sink.
right?
Wash your sink also.
24 hours, right? There are certain scenarios you don't have to wait 24 hours. If, for example, in the army, they weren't able to wait 24 hours, or for example, if it's going to be Erev Pesach and they can't, so then what we do is we add soap. Because by adding soap, it gives it a bad taste, and then automatically you're making it like the 24 hours. The 24 hours is in order to give noten tam livgam, which is giving a bad taste. Because after 24 hours, it's not good anymore. So therefore, you don't have anything there. There's no textures, there's nothing left. So therefore, we wait 24 hours and we do it. So the Kiddush cup, again, even if the Kiddush cup is there, I'm doing Kiddush, and usually you'll move the Kiddush cup to the end of the table, or you take it off the table. Let's say even according to the Kabbalah, you leave it on the table the entire night, and you leave it there and everything that you want. But at the end of the day, you're not going to take boiling hot bread and do hamotzi directly on a Kiddush cup. So therefore, it does not become chametz, okay? And again, even if there is bread around, remember, in order for it to become chametz, you need bread that is going to be, or any type of chametz, which is boiling, yad soledebo. Yad soledebo means that my hand will touch it, and I'm going to retract. If not, it does not become chametz. That's the only way for something to penetrate into a utensil. If it's not, it's cold. There's no problem. Okay, fine. So what happens? So technically speaking, I'm going to tell you a secret. The dishwasher does not get to 100 degrees Celsius. So it does not get it does not get it. So, but if, again, and even if it's in the dishwasher, it's with soap. Because if you're putting it in a dishwasher, there's soap. The soap already is giving it automatically a bad taste. So automatically it's not going to be something that's thing. And again, but you're putting real silver in the dishwasher? Oh, okay, fine. Okay. Right?
Be careful, because I put my dishes gold and it came off. Expensive.
Right. Okay. But okay, maybe in such a case again, but now 1 second. That means you had to have real chametz in the dishwasher. So you had to have real pieces of bread there, right? And it had to become, I don't know. It's very unlikely. But again, if it would, the microwave is much worse, right? But we'll speak about the microwave. 1 second. Well, we'll speak about the microwave. Yeah.
It's like half microwave, half oven, but I can't even use it at the same time as the oven. There's something is not sufficient for the top and bottom.
But I don't understand. When you do the self-clean, it's on both or it's only on one?
It's on the bottom, but meaning when I use it even regularly in 350, I can't use the top. Because I don't know why.
You can't use them together.
I can't use them together ever.
So how do you want to kosher the top one though? Oh, we'll speak about ovens in a few minutes. 1 second. We'll speak about the oven in a few minutes. 1 second, right? So fine. So 1 second. So now what happens is as follows, right? I'm going to wait 24 hours, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my utensils. So for example, forks, knives, and everything. Hagala only works if it's not rusty. Meaning, if I've got rust on my knife or on my fork or on whatever it is, I cannot do hagala. The only thing that could get it out is burning it with a blowtorch, but you don't need it to get red hot, right? All you have to do is that it's going to be a little bit hot enough that straw would get burnt on the other side. Okay, so therefore, what we do is that we make sure that if it's not rusty, I could come and I could do hagala. I throw it inside, right? When it's bubbling up, we have to make sure that the water is bubbling, right? Because that means it's 100 degrees Celsius, it's bubbling up. I throw in my utensil, I take it out, and I put it in cold water immediately. Yeah. So technically speaking, as long as it was not used within the 24 hours, either or. Yeah, either or. Even if the pot could be Pesach, yes. The pot, as long as nothing was used within the 24 hours, it could be either or.
And wait 24 hours, or you have to wait 24 hours first?
No. You have to first wait 24 hours that you didn't use a utensil, and then you put it into the boiling hot water. Once you put it in the boiling hot water, you put it in cold water, and once you put it in cold water, you could use it immediately.
Sometimes I would like kosher my sink, pour boiling hot water and not use it for 24 hours.
It's the other way around.
I have to do the other way.
Yes, exactly. You have to. Yeah, 100%. The other way around. You first wait 24 hours. Now that it's noten tam nifgam, now you're going to kosher it. How do you kosher it? Now you're going to pour the boiling hot water.
Using it? Sure.
The pot, yes. No. Well, afterwards?
No,
the
we
pot.
need to wait first 24 hours for the
Like
pot
what?
itself, or we're going to put the knife, let's say the non.
Yes, it's always better to, even though technically speaking, you probably don't need to because it's usually a huge pot and it's small utensils. But it's always better to, just in case, I don't know how much what you're putting in another pot, you're putting in cutlery. It's always better that everything's not 24 hours. As long as everything's not 24 hours, you're fine.
Say the non-kosher knife is not making the pot non.
No. That's why you're waiting 24 hours for both.
One by one, or can
You could do multiples at a time, but you have to make sure that the water gets in all the places. So for example, if you're going to throw it in, many times I tell people, throw it in and take you have to be very, very careful. By the way, rule number 1 in all hashgacha is safety. So you have to be very, very careful that when you're going to come and you're going to put it in, take, how do you call this? Tongs or whatever it is, long tongs or something, and just take it out. You throw it into the cold water and that's it. Okay? Yeah.
then the hamed is gonna be in the water.
No, because the chametz, since it was after 24 hours, it was noten tam livgam. Since it's a bad taste before Pesach, it's fine. And especially that you're doing it in a big pot and you have small utensils, it's fine. So therefore, there's no problem. That's why we said that you wait to 24 hours. As long as you wait to 24 hours, you don't have a problem. Yeah.
If we want to, like, because you said that it's rusty, it's not rusty, but sometimes it's getting like dark. So
Yeah.
we need to like to clean them with the special product before the agala, or
Yes, before the agala. Because agala will not work on rust.
Why is it not good cost? What's the reason?
Because agala only penetrates when if it's rust, it's already deep inside. It doesn't work. So what we used to do was that, for example, if we saw anything rusty, we would take a blowtorch and just put it on the blowtorch. Right now, again, there you don't need like mamash, like a long time. It's not like you understand? It's much less time. It's not like a barbecue or something that's in dry. Because remember, whenever you need to do a gala, it helps libun kal. Libun kal means a light burning. Usually on a barbecue oven, things that you need libun chamur. Chamur means chamur is strict. You need something a very big fire. This is libun kal. The difference between them is libun chamur needs to get red hot. Libun kal, all it needs is that on the other side, if you would put a match, it would start. It would, like a piece of wood, it would get. Which one? Yeah, we're going to go in 1 second. We'll step by step, right? So first, one more time, agala is number 1. So we spoke about agala with utensils. What about pots? So if I wanted to kasher a pot for Pesach, because I didn't want to buy another pot, so what I'm allowed to do is that I could put it inside of another pot. Now, again, remember, all the pots are not 24 hours. They haven't been used for 24 hours. And I'm going to take the smaller pot and I'm going to insert it in a bigger pot. Okay? That's what you do. That's why many times if they have it, I think here in the Shul Bal Harbor, they do it. In many big places, they have it. They have the big, huge factory pots. They have the big, huge, industrial pots. And therefore, you come with your pots, no matter what, they're always going to be able to fit inside. Usually in your house, it's a little bit more difficult. So the question is, what happens if I've got a pot and it's too big? Now I want to kosher it. Now I can't fit it inside of another pot. So how do I kosher that? So the halacha is as follows. I need to kosher it on the inside and the outside. That's why when you take the pot, you put the entire pot inside of the bigger pot. Now, if I can't do that, so what do I do? So there's going to be 2 or 3 different ways of doing it, right? Way number 1 of doing it is that I've got the pot which was not kasher Pesach. I've got it on the stove, right? And what I do is that I start with the water bubbling up and I make sure that it's almost to the top. And then what I do is I take a hot boiling stone or a metal and I throw it inside. When you throw it inside, the bubbles, right? It's going to bubble over. It's going to go on the outside. And by doing that, I just koshered the utensil, right? I koshered the pot. Another way of doing it is I've got both of them on the fire, right? I have 2 pots, right? Which is basically a smaller one and the one which is not kasher Pesach. Okay, so imagine I've got 2 pots. Maybe I should take a cup.
But if you fill up a pot all the way to the top, right when it starts to boil, it's
Not all the way to the top, almost to the top. And then when you throw the metal, it's going to bubble over.
oh,
Yes, but you need it all at one shot. That's why you have to throw the metal and everything comes out in one shot. Another way is like this, right? Imagine right now I've got two pots. This is going to be, let's say, the bigger pot, which was chametz, and this is a kashela pesach pot, or even whichever type of pot. I want to kosher this pot. It's too big. I don't have any big pots to kosher it. So what I do is I'm going to have this filled with water and this one filled with water. They're both on the fire. Then what I do is I come and I do this. I put the smaller one inside of the bigger one. What? Always. You're always going to do a mess. 100%. Yeah? By the way, if you don't want messes, make sure you take it to those industrial places. They do it for you. Or you take a blowtorch. Yeah? 100%. Right? Again, I'm just teaching you how to kosher it if it is that you want to do it. You've got gas. You don't have electricity. No, so even if it's going to be the fire goes off, but by the time the fire went off, everything got kosher, so you're fine. Okay? So you come and you put the smaller one into the bigger one and it overflows. Okay? That's another one, right? The last one is maybe it's a little bit cleaner. It's basically that you take from your urn directly when it's still connected to the fire, right? And you pour boiling hot water from your urn directly inside of it. And then it overflows. Yeah, something like that.
No, could you use that using chametz all year round? And use it
as long as it wasn't 24 hours, and then it's fine.
You use it?
You're talking about using it for I thought you were talking about kosher. We're going to speak about that. That's in a few minutes. We're going to speak.
That's like expensive.
Yeah, we're going to speak about that. Yeah.
No, it was
the same.
I just want to answer to him.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna speak about that in a few minutes. Fine. Yes.
What we can kasher?
So like this. Usually the majority of the pots, obviously if it's not earthenware, right? Anything of earthenware, was we're going to speak about what you can kosher and what you can't kosher, right? If it's not earthenware and it's going to be a metal or it's not going to be stone or things like that, you could usually kosher, right? There's no problem whatsoever. Anything with Teflon, we're going to speak about, you cannot kosher. The reason why is because many times, right, with Teflon, what happens is if you want to use with a fire, you can't do it because then it ruins the Teflon. So again, if it's going to be a pot and you're just doing hagalah, so then there's no problem, even if it had Teflon in it. But if it's going to be a frying pan or things like that, that's already much more problematic, right, which we're going to speak about. Okay, fine. Let's continue to Irui Kli Rishon. Again, we're going to try to do first the methods of koshering. Then we're going to speak about the different types of utensils in itself, and we'll speak about what can be kosher or cannot be kosher. Okay, because for example, anything which is made of china, porcelain, right, enamel, all those, Teflon, those things you cannot do. Okay, fine. Irui Kli Rishon. Irui Kli Rishon, many times we use, for example, on countertops, or for example, around the fire. So for example, I've got a stovetop. Okay, on the actual fire itself of the stovetop, whether you've got electric or whether you've got gas, that area in itself you don't have to kosher. The reason why is because even if chametz was there, it got completely burnt. That's the reason why, by the way, you're allowed to use it for meat and milk, right? Nobody ever said, 1 second, Rabbi, I use this one for meat, so I can't use it for milk. Well, 1 second, 2 minutes ago, you just used it for milk, and I used it for meat. Why can you do that? And the reason why is because where the fire is, the fire burns everything that's there. So therefore, there's no such thing as that the fire becomes chametz or the fire becomes milk or the fire becomes meat. There's nothing like that. It becomes 100% without a problem. So what happens is it becomes kosher. Yeah, so fine. What happens now in between? Meaning in between the, how do you call them? In between the, like the electric burners, or in between the hob or the ceramic hob or the whatever it is that you have, or the stove. So in between there, you would do Irui Kli Rishon. What is Irui Kli Rishon? I've got an urn and it's bubbling water, and then I come and I just throw hot water onto it. Or for example, many times we'll do it on countertops, tables, right? That's called Irui Kli Rishon. Which one? What do you mean even glass?
Glass.
Even on glass top you could use it, even though a lot of shitot. Now the reason why is, I'll explain like this. Real glass, right? First of all, that glass will not break. Real glass, technically you don't have to kosher at all. The ceramic hob, they call it a ceramic hob, is because it's really ceramic. But the question is it really glass on top or is it glass glazed? So what happens is that in between, it's made to be hot, right? So therefore, there's no problem if you pour boiling hot water. What I usually tell people to do is that I tell all the women, for example, if you're going to kosher your stove, right? What you do is don't kosher it at the same time, right? Because you'll blow a fuse usually. What you have to do is you put each one on separately at the maximum for around 25 minutes to half an hour. The reason why we say 25 minutes, half an hour is because usually you will not cook anything at maximum on your stove for more than that time. I mean, even if you're going to put it on the maximum, usually 25 minutes is already the maximum that you'll put on but if you do it, whatever it is, so you have to do it 30 minutes, whatever, if a woman knows what she does, she knows. But usually the maximum time that she'll use is for 25 minutes, half an hour. So 25 minutes, she comes, she turns on, let's say the bottom right. She turns it on, wait 25 minutes. After the 25 minutes, she turns it off, right? That's going to start cooling down. I'm going to turn on the other one. So I turn on the other one, again, 25 minutes. And then I come, boom, the third one, the fourth one. When I'm finished the entire thing and everything cools down, now I'm going to come with boiling hot water and I pour it on top of the entire thing. Why? Because I needed the sides to become kosher, right? Or you could have done it the other way around as well, which means that before you kosher anything, I pour boiling hot water on everything. When I finish, I come and I'm going to turn on each one for the 25 minutes. Either or you could do it, but just make sure that it's completely cold when you're pouring the boiling hot water, or it's completely cold when you're coming and you're turning on the each one, and don't do it at the same time. Again, that's just for safety or for anything. It's not for halakha. For halakha, if your electricity was able to do it, put all four of them at the maximum, and in 25 minutes everything's kosher.
Put the aluminum in between the round.
You don't need to. Once you do what I just told you, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Right? Other people do it. Other people, they'll put aluminum in between, right? And then you only have the burners or whatever it is. But technically speaking, once you just did what we just did, what we said, you don't need to kosher it. You don't need to do anything else.
Also not to use 24 hours before.
The urn,
You're pouring it on.
no, the urn is fine. But usually, unless the urn is chametz. If the urn is with not chametz, then there's no problem. But if the urn is chametz, yes, then just wait. Yeah.
Wait for the water, or if I put soap.
So 24 hours. If you do put soap, then you don't need to, but it's better to wait the 24 hours usually. Right? Again, 24 hours, hot. If I put something cold, there's no problem.
It's a hot kettle is the same as the.
Yeah, we're going to speak about that. Yeah, hot kettle or urn, the same thing. Right? But again, we're talking about the 24 hours. The last one, which is going to be libun. So I already told you, libun gamur means anything which was in a dry solid. You need to what? You need to do with dry, we need to do a real fire. So for example, the oven. The oven is in solids. Even if sometimes you'll come and you'll put liquids, majority of the times the oven is going to be used in solids when you're baking and things like that. So therefore, what happens is you have to kosher it in heat. So therefore, what we usually do is the best is always going to be self-clean. When you put the self-clean gets to crazy temperatures, right? That it's already 100%. Right, libun chamur. So therefore, there's no questions whatsoever, and it completely burns everything. A lot of the self cleans. Which one?
You don't clean it before
If you want, you could clean it before self clean. Technically speaking, the self clean burns everything that's there. Right? Usually, it'll come out ashes. Which one?
We don't wait the
You don't need to wait the 24 hours. If you want, yes, clean it. If you want, clean it with always kita grasa with the anti-grease. Easy off all those things, and then you come and you do it 100%. But technically speaking, if there was any chametz there, usually it'll come out ashes. Right? Somebody once told me they left. I don't remember what it was inside. It came out ashes. It was like mamash. It's completely burnt. So that's the grills is the problem. The grills is the problem because technically speaking, the grills are also going to be used many times with it. So either, right, if you're able to leave it in during the self clean, so then leave them in, because that's the best. And if you cannot leave them in, so you would have to take it off. And then what I would tell you to do is that afterwards, when you're finished the self clean, either you use a blowtorch or you would put it inside and you would put it to the maximum. And even after doing that, don't put any matzah or any kashela pesach directly on those. Some ovens do and some ovens don't. My oven, for example, I can't keep them inside.
What?
You have to take off all the racks. It's too powerful. It doesn't work. But if you could leave it in, leave it. It doesn't turn on. No, it doesn't turn on. It doesn't turn on. It doesn't turn on. Yeah, it takes it. Bemet, and you leave them in and it's fine. Okay, so then that's fine then. Right, it's fine. Mine will not turn on unless you actually take it out. You have to take off the racks. Right? So if you have to take off the racks, so take them off.
turns on.
If it turns on, then better. So then just, yeah, leave it aside and that's it. And
Don't wait 24 hours.
yeah, you don't need to wait the 24 hours. Okay, that's going to be the libun gamur for the oven. Okay, fine. What we'll just do is we'll do quickly.
Steam off or like steam tool to like clean stuff. Like
So the steam tool maximum would be like Irui Klidishon. It's not going to be more than that. So it's not going to do Hagala. It's not going to do, you understand? So the sink is Irui Klidishon. If it's going to be like Irui Klidishon, it's Zeah. It's not as good. But I would have to check it. I've never been asked that question. You mean you want to use a steamer, like a steam thing?
like steam.
But it's not actual water that's coming out. It's not actually water.
Steam. Like
It's the steam from the water, meaning that you've got like, but it's not, okay, fine. If it was water, that would have been fine. But if it's going to be,
put it boil.
no, it has to be boiling. No, for sure it has to be boiling, because if not, it wouldn't make it into steam. It has to be boiling hot, but the only thing is I'm not sure, because that's Zeah. Zeah is not the same as water. So I have to check if that helps for Irui Klidishon. Okay, fine. Okay, so let's just go very, very quickly. When we're talking about, for example, aluminum, which is metals. So again, any metal that was used in liquids, you do agala. Any metal that was used in solid, you have to do libun gamur. So that's why baking trays, they would need libun gamur. Okay, the blech, right? Again, obviously you clean it and you don't use it for 24 hours. Then you put the blech. The blech is like the piece of metal that you put on top of the stovetop. The majority of us, we don't have it, but sometimes they have it on gas, that they'll put on gas, they'll put like a blech, or they'll put something like that, which is a sheet of metal, right? That they'll put it on top. So there, all they'll do is they just clean it. They place it on the stovetop with the burners on. They turn them on for 30 minutes. And again, obviously, you have to be very, very careful, because it becomes very, very hot. So you have to be careful with that. Anything to do with China, obviously, you cannot do any type of hagala. Candlesticks in the trays, all you have to do is just clean it. Women will like to polish it. Again, you're allowed to polish it, but it's not halacha. You're not obligated to, unless you put burning hot bread on top of your candles or whatever it is. But again, usually you don't have that, so you don't have that problem. Okay, anything again, ceramic, china, any of those things, you have a problem.
The glass, we just
Glass, you don't have a problem whatsoever. For Ashkenazim, they do have a problem. So then for them, if they're going to have drinking classes or whatever it is, they would put it in water for 72 hours. What they do is 24 hours, they switch the water, again, then another 24 hours, again, another 24 hours. And after 3 days, that's when they can use it.
I use it in the dishwasher. That's not
No
for
problem.
the Pessah.
No problem.
And after, I don't have to wash different.
Nothing. Nothing. It doesn't absorb anything. There's no problem. Glass kettle, same thing. Anything which is glass. If it's 100% glass. Pyrex also. Pyrex, all these things, no problem. Yeah, Pyrex, all the same. Okay? You could use the Pyrex for meat and milk. You're going to have your shepherd's pie, your pastel, right, in a Pyrex. You wash it out and then put cheesy lasagna. It's one right after another. If it's not volé, if it doesn't absorb, there's no problem. Yeah, obviously it has to be clean, 100% clean, and no grease, no nothing. But
I'm going the same, because the sink, the apartment that my kids got has one sink. How do you?
so we'll speak about the one thing. We'll speak about the one thing. Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. To do with a cutting board, it's a problem. There's a cutting board, since it's got scratches inside. You remember about the rust? So the same thing. So anything to do with a cutting board, get a new cutting board for Pessah. Okay. Dishwashers. So we'll speak about the dishwasher. The dishwasher you clean out, right? Clean out the dishwasher, clean the filter. The most important part is the filter. And then what you do is you're going to do one cycle at the maximum with soap, and one cycle and the maximum without soap. Okay, and then you're going to be good to go. Again, obviously, which one? Yes, wait the 24 hours, right? Because again, that's going to be there like the hagala. Well, yeah, that's for Sfaradim. We're talking about Sfaradim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more
So-
than enough.
Yeah.
I never cooked Ashkenaz food, but this way.
So-
And one cycle with water?
One with soap and one just with water without the soap, both of them at the maximum temperatures, and you make sure that you clean it out and you clean out the filter. The most important part is the filter. Yeah, there you wait 24 hours. There you wait 24 hours. Okay. No, there is going to be difference. Pesach is easier in certain senses because it's kosher. It's kosher food. It's not taref. So it's heter that was absorbed, meaning it's permissible things that was absorbed. The only thing is it's chametz, so we just have to get rid of it. But non-kosher is worse. No, usually not, but we'll check it up. If I remember correctly, no. Okay, fine. So that was the dishwasher. Obviously, food processors. Again, obviously, frying pans you can't with the Teflon. Without the Teflon, then, right, it all depends how you use it, if it's a generous amount of oil or not. The reason why is because if you remember, we said if you use a lot of oil always, so therefore what happens is that it's considered like cooking. So then you just need water. If you don't use a lot of oil, or sometimes you use the pan or whatever, just a spray, so then you're basically using no oil. So then now you need to kosher it with a fire. Now, if you're using it with a fire, especially with Teflon, gamarnu, there's nothing what to talk about, right? Because the Teflon will get ruined, right? That's the coating, the thin coating on the top. And even if you don't, so then again, you have a problem there. So you have to be careful. Okay. We spoke about the glass topped range, which is the stove or the ceramic hob. Glass is used for drinking. All you have to do is wash with cold water and that's it. The baby's chair, obviously, we just said you just clean it. Don't use it for 24 hours. Here, what we do is we just pour boiling hot water on the plastic trays, on the, on the baby tray, where he eats. And then that's it. You're done. Some people say it's better to cover it. Again, technically, you don't really need to. A hot plate. So the hot plate, what you do is to kosher it, you clean it. Don't use it for 24 hours. You leave it on the highest setting for an hour and a half, right? Or so for a half an hour, whatever it is, the maximum that you would use. And then you just unplug it, and then you use Irui Kli Rishon, and then you're going to cover it. So one more time, right? Hot plate, right? The hot plate, you could use the same plata of Shabbat, but to use the same plata of Shabbat, what you do is you turn it on, right? You clean it, obviously. Don't use it for 24 hours. You clean it. You turn it on for half an hour, the maximum, right? Hopefully there's probably the maximum that it is. After that, what you do is you unplug it. When it gets cold, do Irui Kli Rishon. So you're going to take the hot kettle or the urn or whatever it is, pour boiling hot water on top of it. When you're finished with that, it's still best that on Pesach itself, you cover it with... No, you turn it off. You turn it off.
With the pot.
No. No, but but you've the how do you call this? It's the plug is separate. The plug is you're talking about when you immerse it. Yeah, no, it's because usually you're doing it on the top. And again, we're not talking about that you're immersing it. So one more time, turn it on, clean it. You're waiting 24 hours. Clean it. When you clean it, right, you turn it on. Wait for the maximum amount of time that you would leave it there. Half an hour. You just wait. When you finish, unplug it. Wait until it gets cold. When it's cold, take the urn, boiling hot water. You pour boiling hot water on it.
You have to do the urn one time.
And then.
One time. And then after that, it's best to take foil and you cover it. Now, when I cover it, make sure that you don't cover it underneath. Only on the top and on the sides. The reason why is because it could become dangerous if you do it underneath. That it could become a star fire or whatever it is. So be careful, right?
Let's say we go for rental or something, can we use their hot kettle or it's better not?
So it all depends. If they use it with chametz and everything, it could be a problem. So that's where we'll have to speak about the kettle soon, whenever, but it could be a problem. Okay. So that was the hot plate. Okay. The kiddush cup again is just washed with cold water and soap. The microwave. Okay. So I'll tell you for Sfaradim. Ashkenazim, the answer is you can't kosher the microwave. For Sfaradim, the way that they tell you to do it is you take kita grasa, do you say like yes, 24 hours, and you're going to use grease remover. Yeah, grease or whatever it is, all these different, off all these different types of things. You clean it, right? When you finish cleaning it, what you're going to do is as follows. Remember, for Sfaradim, the glass plate is glass. It doesn't absorb. So you don't have a problem with the plate. But what you do is take a glass bowl, right? With that, obviously you could use a microwave, something, or a cup, whatever it is. And what you do is you put water with soap inside and you turn it on. and you make sure that it's going to be on enough time that the water bubbles all over the place. Now, why? Because you want that water with the soap is going to bubble up and it's going to go all over, right? And then what you do is when you finish, you wait. Wait a few minutes, because don't open up the microwave right away. It's dangerous, a lot of steam, hot water. Wait a few minutes. When it's done, right, you wait, you open it up, clean up the mess, and then you're done with the microwave, even though with the microwave, always cover the food still. So take, right, never with foil, obviously, cling film or whatever it is that you're covering, but you're always covering the food as well. Never just leave the food like that, right? Always just make sure you're covering the food, right, even with that. That's going to be for the microwave.
Pessah, we are not covered. Can still kosher it or no?
Yeah, you could still kosher it, but just again, but now you're going to come and you're going to cover it always on Pesach to make sure you don't have the problem. Okay, that was a microwave. Plastic, there's a machloket to do with plastic. Are you allowed to kosher plastic or not? Many times we're lenient that you could kosher it, but just we do it with hard plastic and you do hagala. Okay, Pyrex, we said there's no problem. Yes, in hagala. Hagala. No, not pouring the water inside, putting it inside the boiling hot water. Yeah. Even if it's hard plastic, yes. Hard plastic. Yeah. I said there's a machloket to do with plastic. Can you kosher plastic or not? Usually we hold, right, that you could be lenient on hard plastic.
I think it's gonna go.
No. In the I don't think so. I'm not sure. It's a very good question. I don't know if it would melt. You think it would melt? In the oven itself, yes, but many times you cover it right after it comes out of the oven. You don't cover it right away. No, you wait until it gets cold and then you cover it. Okay, so it could be then. You might have to check. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What? Not even a minute. Half a minute. Yeah, it's a dip. It's a dip. What are you doing? You're dipping it inside. Right? You just have to make sure that the water is bubbling and you dip it inside and take it out. So I don't think it's gonna melt for the 20 seconds that it's inside. I don't think so. Yeah? Okay, fine. Yes.
The kitchen counter, I don't know what it is, if it's whatever, ceramic, marble, whatever. If it's gonna damage it, if you put hot water, can you just
Cover it, yes. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
issue?
100%. Okay, the last one we just said stoneware also you can't I don't know. That the counter is different. Every counter is different. You have to check the counter. Okay. We're going to speak about all those things about the wood, formica, plastic, Korean granite, marble. We're going to speak about the Bezat Hashem. Fine. So Blina, that we'll have to continue next time. We're just in the finishing of the koshering. There's going to be the selling of the chametz. What can you sell? The real chametz, not chametz, and then going through the seder with all the different, how to do a proper seder Bezat Hashem.
Thank you so much.